Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben, bourbon.
Yes, we have got a new one.
Bourbon o'clock.
It is. Bam, and we've got Jim Beam Black, the 7-year age stated.
7.
Yeah, so this one is the new version of the classic Jim Beam Black, which is basically their kind of extra aged Jim Beam.
But they don't say how much that extra one is.
Well, on this one they do.
Well, on this one, yeah, but the other...
Yep, this is the new 7-year age stated. It's also boosted up to 90 proof
86?
as opposed to the 86 that it was before. So just a little history real quick. Originally, Jim Beam Black was like double aged, which meant it was 8 years compared to the standard 4 for the white label. Then the age statement on that went away and it went to extra aged. Still stayed at 86 proof. And now, like we just said, they've actually come back. I think this is going to actually just replace the old Jim Beam Black, and this is going to be the new standard offering with the 7-year age statement and the 90 proof.
So, while it's newer, do you think this will be pretty regularly available? Like, this isn't a unicorn of anything.
No, yeah, this is going to be the regular shelfer, you know, a regular in the kind of
like one shelf up from the bottom.
Yep, exactly.
Above the white label.
Well, Jim Beam kind of has, they got like the Devil's Cut, the Double Oak, the Black. They've kind of got their line
Prohibition,
of like...
something.
Oh yeah, Prohibition batch.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
you know, right off the bat on the nose, I'm actually kind of digging this a little bit.
And price?
It's standard like $22, I think, for a 750.
Sure.
I paid 28 for this. It's a liter. It does kind of have the Jim Beam nutty profile, but
Definitely like the dry peanut shell kind of note, but there's some sweetness there. Like at this point, I'm kind of impressed.
yeah.
And I think we should go ahead and say it. We have mentioned a few times, like more than a few times, a bourbon either needs
Proof or age.
proof or age. And this is a really good example of lower proof. Well,
Yep.
90's not bottom shelf, but 7 years is a nice point. So
You can get some good flavors out of 7 years,
Yeah.
for sure.
and Beam knows what they're doing usually. So
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of a dry nose, but there is some sweetness trying to come through, some basic kind of caramel sweetness like you would get off of a kind of standard bourbon.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get into the palate. Cheers. On first impression, I feel it's lacking a little bit.
So that was my initial impression too. Mm-hmm. But if you give it time, the burn builds, and I think it really does come across as a nice wood spice burn.
I'm getting the oak spice for sure. Mm-hmm. It's a little more bitter than sweet, I'm finding.
I would agree.
Yeah. In my head, I'm also comparing this to other 90-ish proof bourbons, which it should compete because it is 7-year age stated.
Like
a lot
Eagle
of the other
Rare.
ones.
And
I mean that's 10 year. Excuse me, geez.
Yeah.
That's 10-year, but like even like just like a standard Buffalo Trace at 90 proof, or 1792 small batch at 93.7. That first sip was a little thin. Let me get into sip number 2 here. Entertain the internet while I explore this whiskey.
I'm getting a fair amount off of this today, and maybe it's just a today thing. First whiskey of the day.
You know, it's very, very thin. There's no viscosity whatsoever to it, is my experience that I'm getting. I'm getting kind of that peanut shell flavor.
I would say it's one step up from no viscosity. Like I've had worse. Mm-hmm. So it's not the worst ever, but it's not. But again, 90 proof, and you would expect maybe a tad more because of the age, but who knows?
Yeah, I guess that's my kind of complaint with it. It's just very kind of one note and pretty thin.
I'm getting a fair amount of flavor though. It is missing some really nice central kind of the sweet notes. It's pretty bitter.
I agree with you on that. I think it's like a one note flavor and it's oak spice and peanut shell.
Yeah.
I guess that's 2, but you know what I mean? Like it's very, very one lane. There's not a lot of complexity complexity. There's not a lot for mouthfeel. No, it's a budget-friendly bourbon at the, mid-20s for a 750, maybe low 20s.
What I'm trying to envision is this a bottle, if it were sitting on my shelf, I would, with a fair number of other bottles competing, and like on the everyday open bourbons, your everyday pour kind of shelf, would I ever pick this up over something else? And right now I'm kind of thinking the answer is yes. It's a little different. And I don't necessarily love Jim Beam all the time, but...
Yeah. So I've brought up before that there's value in having some good lower proof bourbons on the shelf. Sometimes you want to sit and have a couple pours. You don't want to get, hammered right away.
Sure.
Sit and sip a cask strength. Your night's pretty short.
Yep.
So I love finding a good around 90 proof bourbon to kind of scratch that itch where you can sit and have a few pours of it. The alcohol content isn't so high, but the flavor content is.
And less than $30.
Yeah, and they're usually run a little cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't think that this one is scratching that itch for me.
That's the one, So it has this one bitter note that just hangs on too long, and it's almost to the point of being off-putting. Like,
yeah,
there's something about it that, like, I think this, you could use the bottle by mixing it, making old fashions or something. We're adding simple syrup to maybe complement.
Yeah, if you wanted something low proof to do,
but just drinking it
cocktail.
neat, it's really interesting, but it gets old in a hurry. I think one pour very occasionally is enough.
Yeah, I think I have one glass of this, and then for the next pour, I need something that's got a little more going on.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I want to like it. It's unique, but I wouldn't. Ideally, this wouldn't be the only thing I had to drink. If I'm gonna have a couple of pours in a night, I would definitely mix it up because you get tired of it, I think.
Yeah, and at the price point, not that it's expensive, but when you do have even a basic maker's mark, I think I would reach for before this.
Yeah.
An Old Forester 100, it's a
Evan
little higher
Williams.
proof. Evan Williams bottled and bond 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess this one, I don't know. I'd like to compare it to the 86 proof just to see what the step up is. Mm-hmm. But going from memory, I don't know. I mean, this one isn't really jumping out at me as being particularly anything special.
So going from memory, I feel like it really leans into more of that bitterness, where maybe the Black Label one was a little bit more. This one really leans in. Unfortunately, that's not a great note to be even more prominent.
Yeah. I think when you get that bitter note, you got to have it backed up with a little viscosity or something like that.
Yep.
Because I feel like when it's bitter and sweet, you get into that oak flavored water sort of note. And that's kind of what I'm getting from this one.
Liquid campfire.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I guess make the decision for yourself if you want to just try this at the reasonable price point. For the price point, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be buying another bottle.
Fair enough.
All right, well, this has been Jim Beam Black, 7-year age stated on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Till next time. See you next time.